and I'm going to try to engage you all in a conversation about what life is going to be like for the sports world after the coronavirus pandemic. Whenever we get through this pandemic, through this crisis, I want to talk about what the sports world is going to be like in the aftermath. And I got to be honest with you, I think it's going to be a net positive. I think the sports world is going to be better in the aftermath of the coronavirus than the sports world we had beforehand. And I say that because, and I'm sure you're asking, why would I say that? I say that because American sports have traditionally been a celebration of America and Americana. I think a lot of people think wrongly that sports are more of a diversion from reality and from the real world. We use this entertainment to escape the real news. I disagree with that. I think we've used sports to celebrate America and to push America forward. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that for the obvious reasons. People have turned sports into this place where we do a lot of protesting. And I think that's not been the proper role for sports over the last few years. But I want to walk you through some of America's past as it relates to sports, just to give you a little context and foundation for what I'm trying to explain to you about how sports have been a celebration of American values, American culture, and sports have been used to push America to a better place. Of course, America's past is imperfect. The sports world's imperfect. We're all imperfect. And so I don't want to hear people, when I start telling these stories from the past, oh, but X, Y, and Z was going on, and oh, they had segregation then, and they had this. Sports were a tool to push America forward. Sports used as a tool to celebrate American values, to inspire us as Americans to live up to the values expressed in our Constitution. That has been the traditional role of sports. And so I'm going to take you all the way back to the 1930s and start there with Jesse Owens. It's an obvious story. We all know it. Jesse Owens in 1936 goes to the Berlin Olympics in Berlin, Germany, Adolf Hitler country. Jesse Owens, an African-American, goes to Berlin, Germany, 4 gold medals, 100, 200, long jump, 4x100 relay, becomes the biggest sports star globally, becomes a celebrated figure in America. Were things perfect, or were things ideal, or were things right for Jesse Owens when he returned to America and for African Americans at that time? Hell no. But was Jesse Owens' victory and triumph, an amazing performance at the 1936 Olympics, was that not something that moved Black people forward and opened American eyes to the potential of the American Black man and the Black race right here in America? Let's stay right there in the 1930s with Joe Louis, the heavyweight prize fighter. Joe Louis's bouts in 1936 and 1938 with Max Schmeling, the German boxer. Huge impact on American culture, huge impact globally. Joe Louis lost the first fight, a 12-round knockout. He lost to Max Schmeling. He comes back 2 years later, knocks Max Schmeling out in round 1. We celebrate that here in America like it's the biggest thing in the world. It didn't matter whether you were black, white, fat, skinny, rich, poor, whatever. Joe Louis's victory was an American victory and a victory of good over evil in terms of what Germany represented and what America represented. Were we living up to all of our ideals? No. But did Joe Louis and Jesse Owens and what they accomplished in their arena, in the sports world, did that start the process of opening America's eyes to the full potential of African Americans and what America was denying itself by denying African Americans their full rights? Absolutely, it started there. It started with Joe Louis and Jesse Owens, and it started in the sports world, and it started in the 1930s and carried over into the 1940s when Jackie Robinson breaks the color barrier in Major League Baseball. This, from Jackie Robinson to Jesse Owens to Joe Louis, these events in the sports world had incredible impact on America. Everybody knows Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in 1947 inspired the civil rights movement that came to America and to the South in the 1950s and 60s. It starts in the sports world. The sports world has been a celebration and an inspiration for America traditionally. We have moved too far away from that. And that's where I think we're headed back to. I think we're headed back to a place where we can celebrate sports again. I'm gonna tell you why, because again, I think our enemies, American enemies, understand the importance of sports in America. They understand its cultural influence on America. And so if you're a communist country, if you're China per se, you want to see upheaval, discontent. You don't want to see a celebration of American values in sports. You want to see sports as a platform to smear and denigrate America. And that's where I think we've gotten carried away in the last 5 to 7 years, in the last decade. And listen, everybody knows what I'm talking about, from Colin Kaepernick making the national anthem a polarizing event. Here we have football, which is clearly the most dominant thing in American pop culture. The #1 television show on 5 different TV networks. 100 million people watch the Super Bowl. And the national anthem, given our history in sports, the national anthem now becomes a polarizing event. Look, it's a mistake. It's not the path to progress to turn sports into this polarizing political vehicle of discontent and complaint. That is not, listen, I am not for someone for not voicing my concerns and pushing America to a better place. But do you do it in the pregame national anthem? If someone can show me footage of Muhammad Ali before a boxing match, during the national anthem, complaining about America, if somebody can show me that, then I'll buy it. I don't think it's the proper deal. I think from Colin Kaepernick to LeBron James to Megan Rapinoe to countless other athletes, many of them with connections to Nike and Nike's connections to China, I think we're now starting to understand, and this is where I think the coronavirus is going to be a net positive for us. We have started a conversation in America looking at this coronavirus, where it came from, how China handled it. You go all the way back to October when Daryl Morey sparked the controversy, the Houston Rockets general manager sparked the controversy in the NBA about China when he tweeted out support for the protesters in Hong Kong. This started in October, this educational process about foreign influence over American culture and China, a communist regime. I think there's a lot of people in my generation and younger that don't have an understanding of communism. They don't have an understanding of the dangers of communism. I don't think they understand how much influence and how a communist regime as a strategy tries to smear America along racial lines. I don't think we have a full understanding of what has really been the puppet strings behind these athletes that seem so passionate about complaining about America from a sports platform. Who's really pulling those strings? And the thing that happened with Daryl Morey in the NBA started the educational process of Americans starting to realize, oh my God, these puppet strings are actually being pulled out of China. Nike, the NBA players, so dependent upon China and the money that they're able to make in China. The NBA trying to get a huge contract out of China. Perhaps these athletes are doing these things to curry favor in China. This educational process through the coronavirus now coming in March and will go on through this summer, I think people are going to start to understand that we're on the brink of a Cold War with China. We're on the brink of China becoming the new Soviet Union, a communist threat, and our rival. And I think it's going to be healthy for us as Americans. You need a rival. Larry Bird needed Magic Johnson. Tom Brady needed Peyton Manning. Muhammad Ali needed Joe Frazier. America needs a rival to help us understand who we are and why we should take pride in American values and in our country. That's where I think we're going to be at on the other side of this coronavirus. It will be fashionable again and okay and cool to show pride in our country. I think this is going to be a great educational tool for us, and I think it's going to be great for football. Look, everybody that watches this show knows I love football. I credit football for where I am today, but I also credit America for where I am today. And that's why it bothers me so much. And again, I understand the criticism of America. I understand our past. But I also know Jason Whitlock in this current form, living where I'm living at right now, providing for my family the way that I do, to think it couldn't happen in these other countries, only in America. That's why Don King said it. You can't be a chubby little kid from the inner city in Indianapolis, mama a factory worker, daddy a high school dropout, in the hood. When my parents divorced, my mother moved me and my brother to a little 600 square foot apartment in the hood, factory worker. When I was a senior in high school, me and my father shared a 1-bedroom, 500 square foot apartment in the hood. You can't come from there and then 50 years later end up here, only in America. And so I think when we get to this other side of the coronavirus, when this educational process about, hey, how much foreign influence is pervasive throughout our culture and throughout sports culture with all these leagues and their foreign ties. And this is why I love football and the NFL. It's a unique sport that's unique to America. We play it better than everybody. We're the only one with the balls to play it. When this is over, masculinity and football will be back in style. This whole little thing we've been on for the past decade, where men have become luxuries instead of necessities, I think will be over because of this coronavirus. Football will be back in style. America will be back in style. Showing pride in America will be back in style, and we will frown upon the people that don't respect this country. And again, you can be a critic of this country and respect it, but damn it, all this turning the national anthem and turning these sports platforms into places where we're protesting the police, that has to end. It's over. That's what I think the coronavirus will do. You got a problem with the police, go to the damn police department. Let's don't hash it out right before kickoff of a football game. Sports, football, bring us together, celebrate our best values, put America in the proper spotlight, and inspire us to do better. That's what they've done traditionally. All these people whining and complaining, and these damn elites, these elite millionaire, genetically gifted athletes that want to complain and pretend like they know the struggle, get out of here. Get out. There's a bunch of us that know the struggle that weren't born 6'9" and could jump out of a building. Some of us had to actually put in all kinds of work to get here. And I'm not saying you didn't athletically, but some of us had to use this up here. And this up here tells me we've been out of line for the past decade. We've gone too far and have turned the sports world into something that's not intended to be. We will get back to celebrating America, and sports will return to what it has been for many, many years, a great springboard and inspiration for American citizens.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.